The massive alien ships appeared in Earth's solar system without warning. They hung in space like dark mountains, their hulls covered with strange symbols. This was humanity's first contact with the galactic hegemony, rulers of over 300 star systems. On Earth, governments scrambled to respond. The United Nations Security Council met in emergency session, while military forces worldwide went on high alert. Scientists worked frantically to decode the alien transmissions that flooded Earth's communication systems. Captain Jack Wilson of the Earth Defense Force stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, watching the main alien vessel through reinforced glass. "How many ships are we counting now?" he asked his second-in-command. Lieutenant Nancy Rivera checked her tablet. 47 confirmed, sir. Their technology is. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Wilson nodded grimly. After 20 years in space defense, he had prepared for this moment, but never truly believed it would come during his lifetime. Any progress on their message? The linguistics team has a partial translation. They're calling themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They're requesting. Rivera paused, rechecking the information. No, they're demanding a meeting with Earth's leaders. 3 days later, the meeting took place aboard the International Space Station. President Olivia Martinez led a small delegation of human representatives, while the aliens sent only 2 envoys. Tall, 6-limbed beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors as they spoke. The head alien introduced himself as High Commander Zextalic. Through their translation devices, his words came through clearly. "Your species has been observed for some time. You have achieved faster-than-light communication and are close to developing true interstellar travel. According to Hegemony Protocol, you must now be formally integrated into our empire." Martinez maintained her composure. "The people of Earth value our independence. We would prefer to establish diplomatic relations as equals." The alien's skin flashed red. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The hegemony has absorbed hundreds of species. Some serve as laborers, others as soldiers, a few as administrators. Your biological traits suggest humans would be useful in resource extraction on heavy gravity worlds." General Sam Bennett, standing behind Martinez, stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" The alien seemed puzzled by the question. Refusal is not an option that has proven successful. The last species that refused now exists only in our biological archives. Martinez exchanged glances with her advisors. "We request 48 hours to consult with our full government." "Granted," said Zextalic, "though the outcome cannot change. Prepare your people for transition. The initial resource collection will begin on your largest continent." After the aliens departed, Martinez turned to her team. "Options." Dr. Kate Brown, head of xenobiology, spoke first. "Their biology suggests they evolved on a world with little competition or predation. Their society appears to have expanded through overwhelming technological superiority rather than conflict." "You mean they've never faced a real fight?" Bennett asked. "Possibly," Brown replied. "Their communication patterns show no concept of strategic deception. They state their intentions directly and expect compliance." Martinez looked out the viewport at the alien flagship. "Get me a secure line to the Pentagon and all allied military commands, and contact Professor Ryan Howard at the Prometheus Project." "The classified weapons program?" Rivera asked. Martinez nodded. "The aliens think we're just going to surrender our planet because they have bigger ships. They clearly don't understand humans at all." As they returned to Earth, the alien vessels maintained their position. They were confident in their superior technology and numbers. They had conquered hundreds of worlds this way. But they had never encountered humans before, a species that had spent its entire history fighting and surviving against all odds. The clock was ticking on humanity's 48-hour deadline, and across the planet, preparations were already underway. The emergency council gathered in the underground bunker beneath Washington, D.C. Military leaders from around the world joined through secure video links. The room hummed with tension as President Martinez took her place at the head of the table. "The aliens have given us 48 hours," she said. "That time is almost up. I need options." General Bennett pointed to the holographic display showing the alien fleet. "Direct military engagement would be suicide. Their ships outnumber ours 20-1, and our weapons likely can't penetrate their shields." "Surrender isn't an option either," said Admiral Chen. "Based on their communications, they plan to use Earth as a mining colony. Billions would die in the process." Professor Ryan Howard stepped forward. The scientist rarely left his lab at the Prometheus project, and many in the room were seeing him in person for the first time. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "We've been preparing for this possibility," Howard said. "For 30 years, the Prometheus project has been developing technology based on theoretical physics. We couldn't test most of it because it would have been too dangerous or visible." He activated his tablet, and new images appeared on the main screen. "These are weapons and defense systems that use principles the aliens likely haven't encountered. Their technology follows predictable patterns. Ours doesn't. Martinez studied the designs. Will they work?" "In theory," Howard admitted, "but we've never had a chance to deploy them against advanced technology like theirs." "How quickly can they be installed on our ships?" asked Bennett. "We've been manufacturing components in secret facilities for years. Many are already being moved to military bases worldwide. With a global effort, we could arm our main fleet in 36 hours. Dr. Kate Brown raised her hand. "There's something else to consider. The aliens have conquered many worlds, but I believe they've done so without serious resistance. Their communication patterns suggest they've never faced a species that fights back effectively." "Are you saying they don't understand war?" Admiral Chen looked skeptical. "I'm saying they understand domination, not conflict," Brown explained. "There's a difference between conquering the unarmed and facing an enemy that will do anything to survive." Martinez turned to the Joint Chiefs. "What's your assessment?" General Bennett took a deep breath. "If Professor Howard's technology works, we might be able to surprise them. Not win outright, but bloody their nose. Show them we're not an easy target." "And then," Martinez pressed, "humans adapt faster than any species on Earth," said Brown. "If the aliens follow the pattern I've observed, they're methodical and procedure-driven. They won't expect unconventional tactics." Lieutenant Rivera, who had been quietly taking notes, spoke up. "My grandfather fought guerrilla wars in South America. He always said, when you can't match their strength, you change the game. Maybe we need to show these aliens that humans don't play by the expected rules." The room fell silent as everyone considered this. "We have no choice but to fight," Martinez finally said. "But we'll do it our way. General Bennett, coordinate with Professor Howard to arm our fleet. Admiral Chen, prepare your best pilots for hit-and-run attacks. Dr. Brown, I want a psychological profile of these aliens. Find their weaknesses." She stood, looking at each person in turn. "The Galactic hegemony thinks this will be easy. They expect us to surrender or be crushed in a direct battle. But humans have been fighting against the odds since we first picked up stones against larger predators. We'll show them what they've never seen before, a prey that hunts back." As the meeting ended, military leaders rushed to carry out their orders. Across Earth, soldiers said goodbye to their families. Engineers worked around the clock installing new weapons. And in orbit, the alien fleet waited, unaware that they had made a crucial mistake. They had threatened a species that had turned warfare into an art. The 48 hours passed quickly. The alien mothership sent a simple message. "Your time to prepare for integration has ended. Lower your defenses and await instructions." President Martinez stood in the Global Command Center, surrounded by military leaders from around the world. On the main screen, they watched as smaller ships detached from the alien fleet and began moving toward Earth. "They're starting their approach," General Bennett said. 5 vessels, heading for major cities: New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, and Rio. Martinez nodded. "Send our response." Admiral Chen pressed a button. transmitting humanity's carefully crafted message. To the galactic hegemony, Earth declines your offer. We choose independence. Leave our system now. On screen, the alien ships paused briefly. Then High Commander Zextalic's voice came through. Your resistance is noted but irrelevant. We will now demonstrate the cost of defiance. The largest alien ship fired a beam of blue energy at a small orbital satellite. The satellite exploded instantly. That was just a weather station, Bennett said. They're showing off. Martinez took a deep breath. Launch Operation Thunderbolt. Across the globe, military bases activated their new weapon systems. 50 small fighter craft rose from hidden hangars. They looked ordinary, until they activated Professor Howard's technology. Captain Diane Miller led the first squadron. Eagle Squadron ready, she reported. Stealth fields active. The human fighters disappeared from visual detection. On radar, they appeared as nothing more than atmospheric disturbance. In the command center, everyone watched nervously. Professor Howard stood by his console, hands shaking slightly. The stealth field is working, he said. They can't see our ships. Miller's voice came through the speakers. Approaching target Alpha. Weapons hot. Her squadron closed in on the alien ship heading toward New York. The hegemony vessel, shaped like a massive arrowhead, continued on its course, unaware of the threat. Fire, Miller ordered. 20 fighters fired simultaneously. The new weapons, plasma torpedoes designed to bypass alien shield frequencies, struck the hegemony ship from all sides. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cracks appeared across the alien vessel's hull, and it began breaking apart. In orbit, the hegemony fleet reacted with obvious confusion. Their communication channels filled with alarmed messages. Unknown weapons detected. Shields ineffective. Requesting immediate support. The human fighters were already moving to their next targets, using Earth's atmosphere to hide their movements. 3 more alien ships were damaged before the hegemony could organize a response. High Commander Zextalic's voice boomed through the communication channels. This resistance is unexpected but futile. You have revealed your capabilities and will now experience the full might of the hegemony. The remaining alien ships formed a defensive pattern and began firing energy weapons randomly into Earth's atmosphere, hoping to hit the invisible human fighters. Captain Miller's squadron darted between the energy blasts. They're shooting blindly, she reported. They can't track us. In the command center, Dr. Brown studied the alien response patterns. Look at their formation, she said. It's perfect. Textbook perfect. No variation or adaptation. Martinez turned to her. What does that tell us? They fight by the book, Brown explained. They've never needed to improvise. Bennett nodded in understanding. Then we change tactics every time they adapt. Keep them guessing. The battle continued for hours. Human fighters struck quickly then disappeared, following no predictable pattern. When the hegemony adjusted their shields, the human weapons changed frequency. When alien reinforcements arrived, they found only empty space where their sensors had detected human ships moments before. By nightfall, 7 hegemony vessels had been destroyed or disabled. The alien fleet pulled back to a higher orbit, clearly reassessing their approach. In the command center, a cheer went up, but Martinez raised her hand for silence. This is just the beginning, she warned. They're regrouping, not retreating. But today we've shown them something important. Humans don't surrender. On the main screen, they watched the alien fleet rearranging into a new formation. The first battle was over. The war had just begun. The Hegemony Council gathered in their command sphere aboard the flagship. High Commander Zextalic's skin had turned a deep purple, a sign of extreme distress among his species. Around him, 6 sub-commanders waited in tense silence. Explain how a single planet species has destroyed 12 of our vessels, Zextalic demanded. Sub-Commander Vril Max consulted her data tablet. The humans are not following standard defense protocols. Their ships appear and disappear from our sensors. They attack from multiple directions simultaneously. They seem to have technology that specifically targets our shield frequencies. Impossible, another commander said. We've conquered 300 worlds. No species has ever bypassed our shields. Yet these humans have done exactly that, Zextalic said. We must adapt our approach. The hegemony deployed their second wave of ships 3 days later. They had adjusted their shields to rotate frequencies and added extra sensors to detect the human stealth technology. This time, they targeted military bases rather than cities. But humans had already changed their strategy. Instead of using fighters, they launched what appeared to be cargo ships. The hegemony ignored these vessels until they suddenly split open, releasing swarms of tiny drones. Thousands of these drones, each barely larger than a human hand, attached themselves to the alien ships and began cutting through the hulls. In the Earth Defense Force headquarters, Major Ben Collins watched the drone attack with satisfaction. The nice thing about fighting an enemy that's never lost is they don't know how to handle losing. Beside him, Lieutenant Jane Foster nodded. They keep expecting us to fight the way they would fight. But humans have been killing each other for thousands of years. We've gotten really good at it. The hegemony lost 15 more ships to the drone swarms before they managed to develop countermeasures. But by then, humans had moved on to yet another tactic. Professor Howard had designed missiles that could temporarily disable alien technology by generating electromagnetic pulses tailored to hegemony systems. 2 weeks into the war, the Hegemony Council met again. Their confidence was gone, replaced by growing concern. We have lost 32 ships, Zextalic reported. Our invasion force is at 60% capacity. The humans continue to develop new weapons faster than we can counter them. We should retreat and return with our full armada, suggested one commander. No, Zextalic replied. The Central Fleet is busy suppressing rebellions in the Orion sector. We must finish this now, before other species learn from the human example. The hegemony changed tactics again. They landed ground forces on Earth's moon, establishing a base from which to launch attacks. They expected humans to defend their satellite, leading to a predictable battle in space. Instead, humans simply let them have the moon. For 3 days, nothing happened. The hegemony forces began constructing their lunar base, suspicious but proceeding according to protocol. On the 4th day, they discovered that human astronauts had previously hidden nuclear devices deep in the lunar surface. The explosions weren't powerful enough to destroy the moon, but they collapsed the ground beneath the alien base, burying thousands of hegemony troops. In Washington, President Martinez received the news of the lunar operation's success with mixed feelings. How many aliens did we just kill? She asked General Bennett. Approximately 8,000, he replied. But they were soldiers preparing to attack Earth. Martinez nodded slowly. I know, but I want us to remember that we're fighting for our survival, not out of hatred. The hegemony still doesn't understand what they've awakened, Dr. Brown said, joining them. Their society evolved through cooperation and technological advancement. They conquered through overwhelming force, not through conflict with equals. And humans? Bennett asked. We evolved as both predator and prey, Brown answered. We understand violence on an instinctive level. For us, warfare isn't just about technology. It's about psychology, deception, and willpower. Outside the window, they could see new defense platforms being constructed in orbit. Earth was transforming into a fortress, while its people were uniting against a common enemy for the first time in human history. The war entered its 3rd month. Earth's outer colonies on Mars and Europa had become frontline bases, launching surprise attacks on hegemony supply ships. The aliens had lost nearly half their invasion fleet, but they continued to receive reinforcements from nearby star systems. High Commander Zextalic had not slept in days. His species could go weeks without rest, but the strain was beginning to affect his judgment. He stared at the holographic display, showing the latest human attack pattern. They should have run out of resources by now, he muttered. How are they still producing new weapons? His second-in-command, Krelvor, approached carefully. "Commander, we've captured a human officer. He was piloting one of their stealth ships when our new sensors detected it." Zextalic's skin brightened with interest. "Bring him to me." The human was brought aboard the flagship in restraints. He wore a torn flight suit with the name Rodriguez visible on the chest patch. Despite his situation, the man showed no signs of fear. "Human," Zextalic said, "you will tell us how your species continues to develop countermeasures to our technology." Captain Rodriguez looked around the alien command center with obvious curiosity. "We're good at solving problems," he replied simply. "It's what humans do." "Your weapons cannot have been developed in mere weeks," Krelvor insisted. "You must have been preparing for our arrival for years." Rodriguez smiled. "We've been preparing for something like this since we first looked up at the stars. Every human story about aliens assumes they might be hostile. We've imagined this war in 1,000 different ways." "Fiction is not preparation," Zextalic said dismissively. "For humans, it is," Rodriguez countered. "We imagine dangers so we can overcome them. We tell stories about wars so we know how to fight them." The aliens discussed this concept among themselves in their own language. Rodriguez waited patiently, studying their movements and technology. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Planetary Defense Council received word of Rodriguez's capture. "Do we implement the Trojan Protocol?" General Bennett asked. President Martinez hesitated. That would mean sacrificing Captain Rodriguez. He knew the risks when he volunteered for the implant, Admiral Chen reminded her. Martinez closed her eyes briefly. "Activated." Back on the Hegemony flagship, alarms suddenly blared. "What's happening?" Zextalic demanded. "The human. His body is emitting some kind of signal," Krelvor reported. "It's bypassing our communication blocks." Rodriguez fell to his knees, blood trickling from his nose. A small device implanted in his brain had activated, broadcasting Earth's entire knowledge of the hegemony directly to every resistance group in alien-controlled space. The signal contained technical specifications of hegemony weapons, shield frequencies, command protocols, everything humans had learned during the war. It reached previously conquered species across 20 star systems, giving them the information they needed to fight back. Rodriguez died as the implant burned out his brain, but his sacrifice changed the course of the war. Within days, rebellions erupted throughout hegemony territory. Species that had been subjugated for centuries suddenly had the knowledge to fight their oppressors effectively. On the hegemony homeworld, the Supreme Council faced an unprecedented crisis. "Multiple systems in rebellion," reported the emergency coordinator. "Our forces are stretched beyond capacity." "All because of one planet of primitives," said an elder counselor. "How could we have miscalculated so badly?" The answer came from an unexpected source, a scholar who specialized in studying conquered cultures. "We assumed humans would behave like all other species we've encountered. But their history is unique. They've spent millennia fighting among themselves, developing the art of war in ways we never imagined necessary." The Supreme Council made a difficult decision. They sent a message to Commander Zextalic: "Disengage from Earth immediately. Return to defend core systems." When the message reached Earth's solar system, humans intercepted it. In the Defense Council chamber, Martinez listened to the translation with her advisors. "They're retreating," Bennett said, disbelief in his voice. "No," Martinez corrected. "They're being called home to deal with the rebellions we've inspired. This isn't over, it's spreading." Dr. Brown studied the alien communication patterns. The hegemony is facing something they've never encountered before, a multi-front war against enemies using their own tactics against them. "And all because they thought humans would be an easy conquest," Admiral Chen added. The hegemony fleet began its withdrawal from Earth's solar system. Their once magnificent armada, now reduced to less than half its original size, moved slowly toward the jump point that would take them back to their core systems. But humans had no intention of letting them leave peacefully. Captain Ellie Grant stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiance, watching the alien ships through the viewscreen. Her vessel was one of Earth's newest warships, built using a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. "They think we're just going to let them go," she said to her executive officer, "after they threatened to enslave our entire species." Commander Paul Wilson nodded. "Fleet Command has authorized Operation Final Message. All ships are in position." Grant opened a channel to her battle group. "This is Captain Grant. We've spent 3 months teaching the hegemony that humans don't surrender. Now we're going to make sure they never forget it." 20 Earth vessels moved into attack formation. Unlike the early battles, when humans had to rely on stealth and surprise, these ships approached openly. They wanted the hegemony to see them coming. On the hegemony flagship, sensors detected the approaching human fleet. High Commander Zex Talik's skin turned pale with anger. "They dare to attack us during our withdrawal," he hissed. "Prepare defensive formations." But the Supreme Council had ordered him to avoid further engagement. Most of his weapon systems were powered down for the jump. Before his crew could respond, the human ships launched their attack. Instead of firing conventional weapons, the Earth vessels released thousands of small devices that attached themselves to the hulls of the hegemony ships. These weren't weapons, they were data transmitters, forcing their way into the aliens' communication systems. In the command center on Earth, Professor Howard monitored the operation. "Data package uploading now," he reported. "They're trying to block it, but our systems are mimicking their own communication protocols." President Martinez watched the main screen as the upload reached 100%. "Send it," she ordered. The transmission that flooded every screen and communication device in the hegemony fleet wasn't a message of triumph or a demand for surrender. It was Earth's history, specifically humanity's long and bloody history of warfare. The aliens watched in growing horror as the data stream showed them the brutal reality of human conflict. From ancient battles with spears and swords to modern conflicts with guided missiles, the message was clear. Humans had been perfecting the art of killing each other for thousands of years. The stream included military treatises from Sun Tzu to Clausewitz, footage from the World Wars, and statistics on humanity's incredible capacity to adapt during conflict. It ended with a simple statement: "We fought each other for millennia. What made you think we wouldn't fight you?" On the Defiance, Captain Grant received confirmation that the transmission was complete. "All ships, withdraw to safe distance," she ordered. "Let them go home with our message." The human fleet pulled back, allowing the hegemony vessels to continue their retreat. The aliens accelerated toward the jump point, clearly eager to escape the solar system. Back on Earth, the Planetary Defense Council convened to discuss next steps. The chamber was less tense than it had been for months, but no one was celebrating yet. The hegemony is retreating, but there's still the dominant power in this part of the galaxy, Admiral Chen reminded everyone. "They'll be back once they've dealt with the rebellions." "Then we'll be ready," General Bennett replied. "Professor Howard's team is already incorporating captured alien technology into our defense systems." Dr. Brown had been analyzing communication signals from various parts of space. "We're receiving messages from 7 different species that were previously under hegemony control. They want to establish contact with us." President Martinez considered this information. The galaxy is changing. For centuries, the hegemony expanded unopposed. Now multiple species are fighting for their freedom, inspired by Earth's resistance. "They're looking to us for leadership," Admiral Chen noted. "Not leadership," Martins corrected. "Partnership. These species have their own cultures and technologies. What they need from us is our experience with something the hegemony never understood: how to fight against overwhelming odds and win." She turned to her advisors. "Prepare a diplomatic mission. I want to meet with representatives from all rebelling species. Together, we can ensure the hegemony never threatens any of our worlds again." 6 months after the hegemony retreat, Earth had changed dramatically. New cities rose with architecture that blended human design with alien technology. Defense platforms orbited the planet, their weapons ready but dormant. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as warriors who had earned respect. In the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in Geneva, representatives from 14 formerly subjugated species gathered for a historic meeting. The chamber was designed to accommodate various biological needs, different atmospheres, gravity levels, and light spectrums. President Martinez entered the chamber, accompanied by her advisors. She wore a simple blue uniform rather than ceremonial robes, a deliberate choice to emphasize Earth's practical approach. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her words translated simultaneously into 13 different languages. A year ago, most of us didn't know the others existed. Today, we gather as free peoples with a common purpose. The alien delegates responded with their own gestures of greeting. The Vordax, crystalline beings who communicated through light patterns, glowed bright blue in respect. The Trilaxians, massive six-limbed creatures with leathery skin, thumped their chest plates in salute. The galactic hegemony believed their technological superiority made them invincible. Martinez continued. They never understood that true strength comes from determination, adaptability, and cooperation. These are the principles upon which we will build our alliance. Ambassador Kirizilek of the Nithran rose from his cushioned platform. His species had been among the first conquered by the hegemony, nearly 3 centuries earlier. "Humans taught us something we have forgotten," he said, his translator converting his musical language to English. "Freedom is not given, it is taken. For generations, my people accepted our place as servants because we believed resistance was impossible. You showed us otherwise." The meeting continued for hours as each species shared their experiences under hegemony rule and their hopes for the future. The alliance they formed that day wasn't built on conquest or subjugation, but on mutual defense and respect for sovereignty. As the formal proceedings ended, Captain Ellie Grant stood near a large viewport, watching ships from different worlds dock at Earth's orbital station. Commander Wilson joined her. "Quite a view," he said. "Did you ever imagine we'd be hosting an interstellar conference?" Grant shook her head. "When I saw those first hegemony ships, I thought it might be the end of humanity. Instead, it was just the beginning." "The hegemony still controls over 200 systems," Wilson reminded her. "Our intelligence suggests they're rebuilding their fleet." "Let them," Grant replied. "They'll never look at humans the same way again." In a secure chamber below the embassy, military leaders from the allied species met separately. General Bennett spread a holographic map showing hegemony territory and the growing alliance. "The hegemony has lost 37 systems to rebellions," he reported. "Their fleet is divided between suppressing revolts and defending their core worlds." A Trilaxian commander named Drog rumbled deep in his throat. "They fear humans most of all. On my world, they'd burned entire cities rather than let them fall to rebels using human tactics." Dr. Brown, who had become Earth's foremost expert on alien psychology, nodded. "The hegemony evolved as a hierarchical species. Their entire civilization is built on order and dominance. Humans represent chaos to them, unpredictable, adaptable, willing to sacrifice for victory." "Will they attack Earth again?" asked a Vordax representative, her crystal body pulsing with concerned red light. "Eventually," Bennett answered honestly. "But not alone. And not soon. They're learning what it means to fight on multiple fronts." As the military meeting concluded, a communication officer rushed in with an urgent message. "General, we're receiving a transmission from deep space, beyond hegemony territory. It's using frequencies we've never seen before." The message was brought to the main embassy chamber, where President Martinez and the Allied leaders reviewed it together. It came from another civilization, one even older and more advanced than the hegemony. They called themselves the Collective, and they had been watching the conflict with great interest. Their message was simple: "We have observed the rise of your alliance against the hegemony. For millennia, we avoided contact with younger species, believing them too primitive or warlike. But humanity's defense of Earth has demonstrated principles we value: courage, innovation, and protection of sovereignty. We propose dialogue.